so that was great. Let me just share my screen quickly so that I can share with you the agenda that that we have for this session. So you can see that in part one, Alex, moderated the first 5 companies: Spatial, Shin Software, Exxar, Metaverse, and Globaliz. And now we'll have 5 more. We'll be starting with Rajat in just a moment. He's at Gamitronics. He's based in India, and he's got some pretty exciting things that he'll be showing you. We have Jim Mathewson at Near 8. And he is also kind of in this kind of online world, more of the event type of space. And Neeraj, he is at Lucrisma. He's very focused on kind of financial services for the metaverse. Michelle at Defintasy is again focused on these experiences, but it's a very decentralized type of an environment. And then Aditya at Spatial Digital Social, and it's also going to be in this kind of online shopping and more consumer oriented type of world. So with that, I'll stop sharing, and it would be great if Rajat, who is actually, like I mentioned, in India, so it's 11 p.m. for him. And so we really appreciate, Rajat, you taking the time and staying up late to share with us what you're doing with Party Night and other projects. So the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jorden. Absolutely my pleasure. And yeah, still some hours left in my day, so it's not too late for me. So it's absolutely okay.
Okay, wonderful.
I'll just share my screen. So you guys can see my screen now.
Yes, right? Definitely.
Awesome. So yeah, so CEO at Gamitronics is kind of a past now. Everybody calls me chief builder at partynight.io now. So I'm like a real estate guy, the virtual digital real estate guy now. So yeah, but yeah, of course, I'm still the CEO at Gamitronics. I'm just going to talk about how brands can change everything with Metaverse, like everything, the entire logic, their how they were selling. That's going to be completely different now, and how we are helping them. So first, let me just, why I'm qualified to talk about it, at this moment, like, because I'm helping 100+ brands, right from the small ones to the biggest or the big ones. We are catering to them right now, and other than them, we are working with 7 government agencies, which are like tough nuts anyways. They don't get it easily, but they're getting it. Means my thought process is that like Metaverse has arrived, because they're understanding the impact, they're understanding where it's going, and the target audience is already there. So before I talk a little bit more, I'll just show you a glimpse of our Metaverse, which is basically a living, breathing city, which I call Utopia inside Party Night, where you can, well, let's just see it.
You can definitely see the gaming roots for party night.
So this is something what we, it's written half in Hindi and half in English. It says India's very own metaverse. So this is something what we've built. We have been building this since 2020, pretty much. In fact, there's an interesting story behind this that in 2014 we built something like this, and India is one of the largest private sector bank, and Microsoft took it, and it was live in Microsoft for 3 years, but then we tried to sell it to other people. They just didn't get it, why they needed something like that. Of course, it was not metaverse per se, it was telepresence, but people were not getting it. But it required a pandemic to, validate this whole thing. Now, one interesting story, all these 100 plus brands I'm talking about, not even a single brand we went to. All the brands came to us, so this is like completely, the tables have turned, everybody is understanding. There is a lot of hype after Mark Zuckerberg mentioned about it, and people are understanding the, capabilities, but there are serious use cases. And this is our proud, movement, which I want to show here. This was done with the Indian Space Agency and the state agency, where we launched NFTs inside an event. And this is the kind of drama which we can do, right? So if there's a space event, why that needs to be in a kind of conference hall, when it can happen in some sort of Star Wars-ish, world, and with all those kind of jazz. Great. Few of the things which we are doing before I, go further and talk about how they can change. There are some serious car launches which are happening. And how is it going to be different? You can actually drive. Everybody gets to test drive the vehicle inside Metaverse, which is not possible in the real physical world. A 65,000 stores mall is getting opened. 65,000. Where are you gonna have it in the real physical world? So in fact, 70% of the shops are already taken in this mall which we are building inside our verse. Then there is a physical experience. That means you go to a store, you try jeans, you call your friends, you take their approval. How am I looking? It's fine, great. That you actually get to wear that in your virtual world, and one jeans actually gets delivered to your doorstep. And we partnered with one of the delivery operator in India, and we actually support fiat currency and crypto both. So we are not, because you never know how the crypto regulations are going to affect. So we wanted to keep our stand very clear there. Another thing which is happening, 24 screens theater is opening in our this thing. That's again a brand coming in, and opening this. Now this is going to be a theater. In India, cinema is a big thing, right? So most of the time they are like completely sold out. But these theaters are never going to get sold out, because we'll create multiple instances of these 24, and everybody gets to see whenever a movie gets launched, and of course, we created a space zone celebrating Indian achievement in space. Now, this is not a brand, but this is a brand creation exercise. An unfortunate part, which we spoke some time back, was like, again, understand NASA's contribution to the space overall. But even in India, people actually wear NASA's T-shirt and not Indian Space Organization's T-shirt, or they don't even understand what they have done. So this is a space where people will come, appreciate what India has contributed, and will create, kind of a, boosting thing that, we have done enough. And so this is an exercise which will actually lead, like people will start appreciating, and slowly we're trying to build a brand. So brand building is another thing which we are participating in, how they can change everything. So there are so many factors. I know probably 12. I'm just, because in the interest of time, I'll talk about 3 core things, participation, community, and real-time stats, and these things are, 3 things are good enough reason for any brand to join Metaverse right away, and so now, this is interesting. Metaverse is not only transforming how we see the world, but how we participate. This is the key word, how we participate. We are not just consuming, we are not being kind of, watching something on YouTube or on a billboard or something. We are actually participating. And the day you participate in something, that becomes a memory for like forever, sort of. Again, this is the elaboration of the participation part. This is the key fundamental differentiator. It's not a unidirectional branding. It's absolutely bidirectional. You see billboards, your ads here, you see TV, you see ads there, you see newspaper ad there, but how do you actually get the metrics? How do you understand games? Yes, if you create a game around any brand, yes, but you need to drive traffic to that game first. That itself is an exercise. While in Metaverse, there is an audience already, looking for newer content all the time. So the thing is that if I have 1 million people I call them my citizens, my population of my Metaverse, if they are moving around, that is a default access to the brand they'll get. Whenever something new comes, they know exactly what's happening. So I don't need to drive traffic, and especially when you are talking about Pepsi Run 3D, most of the people are coming because there is Pepsi, not other way around. In my world, it's my world where Pepsi shows up and people see it. So people are coming to my world, and that's the biggest differentiator. And as people have drive different interests and stuff, the population keeps on increasing. I would love to have Indian equivalent population there, 1.7. It's a huge number, but and that's how the amount of people I can actually drive, and at the same time, have a lot of data about them. So one thing, when we do advertising or any brand, we follow the culture creators and replicators. Means like people who actually influencers talk about it, or word of mouth whales, as we call them in the game industry. People go out and talk about it. Now it's the time when we have to build experiences which can be used, remixed, and built upon. So people are coming to my platform, building stores, building things, and they're going crazy. Like we are doing a fashion show, just like the Decentraland did, but here the artists can completely go crazy because they are not restricted to bipedals and all those kind of things. They can actually showcase their creativity in absolutely different manner, and that's what we are actually helping them with. And this is exactly what we are trying to do when we are allowing people to build their own experiences inside this. So the retention of the brand remains, is a far longer lasting than anything else what has been done traditionally so far. And so this is again, continuing on the participation part, seeing versus engaging. You see a Coke poster, that's fine, but suddenly you see a floating Coke bottle, you hold it, you drink it, you feel refreshed, you see bubbles around it, right? So there is celebration of everything you're doing, right? Everything, instant gratification. You add a game to that, you add AR layer, or you don't want to do AR layer, but the thing is that you experience that brand. Now you'll remember, when I did that, I saw bubbles, or I got a bubble jacket or something like that, and that's an instant, a memory for you to have, and so this is what they did. Now, my interesting example is, and what I would like, Coke has already done, but Red Bull, like very simple. Their punchline is always very simple. Gives you wings, right? Very attractive, very nice. But people who don't consume Red Bull, I still think it's not. They don't get it. what is in for them? Like, how do I get wings? What happens, And probably people who are like, and there are so many people, and especially in a country like India, caffeine is like, is still coffee and nothing else, and in so many other parts of the world also, right? So the messaging is great, but onboarding new users, I still have like, my doubts, so that's what changes in a metaverse. Imagine a Red Bull bottle over there. I drink it, and suddenly I start elevating. Rest of the people are walking, and I start floating around with a wing. And that's what, like, I suddenly get, a bragging right that's what happened when I actually consume this drink, and I'll float for a while, and then I'll land there. So there can be many use cases which can be created in metaverse, which will have much bigger and larger than life experiences for.
Hi there, Rajat. Rajat, this is really awesome. So thank you so much for sharing all those different experiences with us. We're unfortunately out of time with your segment. There are a few questions, in the chat. I'm very curious about, how your 20 plus years of experience has, inspired you to innovate beyond many of the other metaverses that we've seen. But you can type those into the chat for your answers. So thank you again very much, if you have energy being so late to continue with us, and we'll need to move on. So again, that was an exciting experience. So our next next presenter, Jim, are you here?
Yes.
Yes, there's Jim Mathewson with Near 8. So you're also creating, more gamified types of experiences for the metaverse. So it would be great to, get your take on where you see the metaverse going. So feel free to either share a presentation or give us your thoughts.
Yes, let me just try to set it up here. Let's see. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll just leave that up for a minute and sort of give like a brief introduction. But thank you very much for having me, to you and Alex and Laura. And so many great topics are being discussed here that it's hard for me to keep my own presentation in my head, that I have so many different ideas going on right now based on what others have said. But to step back, our company was founded in 2016 originally, sort of like as an immersive online content studio. And we tested content heavily long before Metaverse. And, we had our own spatial environments we were building out, and real world environments and location-based content that we would geotag. And we basically just tested that for, a couple of years, and really got at the core of what I think all metaverse projects that are entertainment or game-based virtual worlds have now, which is sort of this idea that it's like a persistent environment that you're building. And I always come back to using the example of Disney World and stuff like that that's been around forever. But you have the idea of this spatial layout of Main Street in the Magic Kingdom, that where all of these different concepts sort of play in. And once you've been there once, you sort of have it in your mind, and you have this feel for all of these different concepts, like princesses and castles and pirates, and they all fit together in a certain way spatially, so that you can discuss it at the water cooler with your friends when you're not there. And I think that's this idea that really sometimes gets tapped into and sometimes doesn't, because I think that at the end of the Web 2 era, there was a very, real focus on literal experiences, and, basically like a maps-based digital twin of the world that had very literal content, presented to you in that space. And the spatial aspect mirrored the real world. So it was already set up. And then once you had, certain games that came out with more realistic virtual worlds, and, like Fortnite, then people started to shift into this other world where it's like you'll build a world in Unity or Unreal and then define that as your world, or Roblox, which is probably, you know, the earlier, better example, pre-Sandbox and Decentraland. But all of that, I think, you know, I come back to something that Sarah said on, you know, the metaverse side. It has to be fun at a certain point. And if you have something that's too literal, it doesn't really work as an entertainment type project, which is what we're doing, in a storytelling type project. And you have to sort of have an abstract element to it that underpins everything you're telling a story around. And I think that's where, you know, I listed a bunch of, probably was overambitious with all my topics that I would cover here in the description, but, you know, there's a range of interactivity in interactive projects, pre-metaverse and post-metaverse. And then there's sort of a range of abstract versus literal environments that are being created and virtual worlds that are being created. And I think that, you know, that's where we've done a lot of testing on it. And I think that, you know, our project is exciting because we try to tie in average everyday people at the bus stop or on their lunch break and give them sort of a role in a spatial framework that doesn't have to be a literal virtual world that you're in an HMD or, you know, even in a browser, that where their user role is sort of defined using some Web 2, you know, concepts, you know, and, you know, hybrid concepts like filters and lenses. But beyond that, where their role is sort of defined as an NFT in this larger framework. And I'll just sort of start clicking through my slides here so I can stay on track. I think stepping back for what like the value proposition is, I think that there's, you know, all of these real world experiences now that mirror the better metaverses. And, you know, when you think of immersive experiences in real life, anything from all of these great projection shows that are out there, like, you know, Van Gogh and like the many immersive Van Gogh experiences. I think that, you know, certain live events and raves and things that are popular with young people now and that weren't as popular, you know, probably when millennials were coming through. I think that there's just this real appetite for people to go into physical spaces and sort of lose themselves, you know, and that's the opposite. I was talking about this last week too. It's sort of the opposite of the Web 2 era, where it's all based on FOMO and it's all based on, you know, capturing your attention for a split second and conveying some sort of information to you that's, you know, usually personalized and algorithmic. And I think that, you know, when you look at the real world experiences of these, you know, like the Van Gogh show, where you just go and sit on a beanbag, or lots of other projection shows like Artec House in New York, and there's a lot of traveling ones around the country too, or places like Meow Wolf that, you know, is expanding tremendously and has lots of articles written about it. And I think that those environments that are being created that people want to go sort of lose themselves in or become themselves in is sort of the better analogy for what all of these metaverse projects have to offer. And I think that with that, I think that there's a way to sort of connect the two and make it so that when you're sitting in the real world, you can sort of feel like you're a part of this other spatial overlay that is different from actually having to go into Roblox and, like, you know, go into what someone's built there or to go into a certain store. So I'll just keep flipping through here. Our project, like the nuts and bolts of our project, is that, you know, we have various environments that we've built out originally in WebGL actually, but we now have an app which actually ties it all together and is an abstract sort of maze-based app that has, you know, various locales and sort of ways of tying together real world content into a spatial framework that's digestible. And it also uses, you know, gyroscope and accelerometer, so you can actually, you know, use your phone to move within it. And then beyond that, we want to have, like, we're planning a number of live events, which are sort of live hybrid events, which we stream on Twitch and have, you know, roles for people locally, but also roles for people, you know, virtually who are participants and who would own their role as an NFT. And when I say that, like, the main goal for this as a project is to have sort of, you know, springing value to NFTs where, you know, in the play to earn context, you'd actually be playing by, you know, doing filters of yourself and interacting with other people via text, as opposed to actually being in a live gaming environment like Axie Infinity or something like that. So it's trying to make it into more of like a real world role-playing scenario that's tied in with a spatial framework, if that makes sense. And I'm happy to answer any questions offline too, either on LinkedIn or in the chat here afterwards. But, and I do have a video I can show if I don't run out of time here. But yeah, I think
about 5 minutes.
Yeah, about 5 minutes. Let me just check my notes here and try to talk for 1 or 2 more minutes first. But yeah, I mean, an analogy would be, you know, sort of something like Dungeons and Dragons, like, and I know that I've even heard of some projects that are trying to do sort of a Dungeons and Dragons type gamified metaverse. That sort of mirrors what, you know, years ago was like an alternate reality game or an ARG. And I think that the limitation, the only limit to something like that is that it's too complex for people to digest on the fly. And that's where I would say that our project and sort of the abstract side of it gets this connection with people that doesn't require them to digest tons of information. So it's much lighter content, and it's much more easily digestible than if you were doing some sort of really elaborate traditional role-playing game, you know, like Dungeons and Dragons or something like that, where if you just join and you haven't been playing the whole time, you don't really know what you're doing. So that, hopefully I covered a few of my topics, but not all of them. But, you know, let me just share a very quick sort of video tour of something that we're building out right now. Yeah, so like we build our app in Unity, and we've got a number of different environments that tie in with actual real world panoramas. So all of this is a live app that you can actually use. It's not out there yet, but I'm just going to fast forward a little bit because I'm running out of time. But we've got like a number of different environments that take you through these real world sort of portals and stories that tie in with where you are. So that's some of our art design we put together. But I can answer a couple questions here. I think I have 2 or 3 minutes left. So let me see, are there any questions in the chat? Let me see if I can even get the chat up here.
Yeah, if you stop sharing, I think you have, yes.
Yeah.
Then I had asked a question, which is, you know, it sounds like the platform's almost live, and, you know, when are you planning on launching?
Yeah, it's built, and I think that, you know, one of the things we're looking to add more people and possibly raise some more funding is that it's sort of like, if it's a metaverse, it's sort of like a ship as opposed to like a movie where the movie is made and then it just needs to be played over and over again in the same way. It's more like you're on a ship with like a crew, and you actually need to have the community, you know, not just built once and then be on its own, but it needs to be manned and it needs to be live to some extent, sort of like the Truman Show, which, you know, is a great movie back in the day. So I think that we've got all the pieces built, but we just need sort of to flesh out our team a little bit more to have it be alive project.
And do you see like all these different kinds of movies in a sense, all playing at the same time? It's kind of like a
Yes.
million screen theater where you have all these different worlds going on.
It is, and but they are all narrative arcs as well, involve the user. And that's where it's important to think of it, because early on in the Web 2 era, when we were building these out, we were trying to do narrative, stories within realistic panos at the time, which we still use sometimes. But that's that quickly becomes Google Maps, and it quickly becomes, if you like McDonald's, you see McDonald's on the corner. If I like Burger King, I see Burger King on the corner. If you like, a particular type of movie, you'll see that one and I'll see this one. It becomes so personalized that it's not really a narrative project anymore. It's more like an information finding project. And that's sort of the danger with using like a real world replica or digital twin, is that it sort of devolves into that sometimes, which is fine.
Well, Jim, that was and that was great. Unfortunately, we've run out of time for your segment, but it was great to get your take on kind of this movie theater view of of the metaverse, and it's awesome to see all the creativity. So thanks for sharing that with us.
Thanks again.
Yeah, we're going to switch gears a bit. Our next segment here is with Neeraj, and he is in Texas, and he's going to be talking to us about a different concept. This one is very much about financial services. So if you take the real world, you put it into the online world, you get a lot of different things that we experience. One of those is working with money. And so Neeraj, if you can share a presentation or take the stage and give us your vision for what you see the metaverse is going to evolve into, and with your company Lucrisma.
All right, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for the opportunity, Jorden, Alex, Laura, and the entire team. It's just phenomenal. I'm so excited. I speak at a lot of events, but having a metaverse specific event where we get to see all the creativity and the innovation that's been built, it's exciting. So Lucrisma started from a personal episode. I was beginning to teach my kids who are early teenagers about the discipline of financial investment, and I wanted them to understand about Bitcoin and investment in these digital assets. So I started looking around for applications and platforms that would build this discipline into young adults and into even older people, and I could not find anything. I found the traditional the Robinhoods and the and some apps like Greenlight, but explaining decentralization and metaverse and all these concepts to people who have never been in that space was hard. So we looked at Metaverse as a solution to build our financial services company, where we could build all these models that would be immersive and interactive, and the users would be able to play with this and understand. And this is how you connect your MetaMask, and this is how the private keys are stored. So they could really understand how it works. They could not only understand how it works, but also get into the discipline of financial investment, which is a skill that everybody should have. So where are we currently at? I believe we are towards the end of Web 2.0 and the advent of Web 3.0, where we've had, as far as Web 2.0 is concerned, we've had some very successful, fairly established companies that are doing a phenomenal job of selling their stuff, and especially in the financial services world. However, Web 3 came along. Came into its own about 3-4 years ago with the advent of DeFi and now social fi and gamify and all these other FIs, and they are they've also, with their innovation, done a phenomenal job. We've had the metaverse experience for a few years, but it wasn't really the metaverse that we are now beginning to see. So it was not decentralized. While you could have your avatars and get that three-dimensional experience, the world was very centralized. So, for example, if you had a Minecraft account and you got really good with it, after a few months, when you decided to leave Minecraft because it got addictive, you could not take your points with you. You could not take your any assets that you built with you. Also, in terms of the blockchain and cryptocurrency landscape, unlike 4 or 5 years ago when fintech was predominantly the only use case, in the last 4 or 5 years, the technology has been embraced by a bunch of different use cases, a bunch of different industries. As far as the generations are concerned and the adoption by different generations, we see that true to the stereotype, the younger generations have gravitated more towards crypto, and likewise with Web 3.0 and Metaverse as well. A lot of the older generations find the technology overwhelming, and I'm hoping that Metaverse would change that. But currently, the millennials have about nearly 77%, 76% of the crypto assets of all generations. Gen Z is the fastest growing segment, and the contradiction is the older generations have the money, but they're not really getting the experience or the intuitive aspect to invest in these kind of assets. Like I mentioned, the traditional finance has some well-entrenched leaders like Fidelity, Merrill Lynch, BlackRock, etc., that provide traditional products, but they're very inefficient in that there is a middleman always, right? So they're not able to give as high returns as the decentralized versions, and they don't really pay much attention to the educational aspect of it, and the jargon, just overwhelming. The DeFi, SocialFi, GamiFi, and all these other paradigms that have emerged have done a phenomenal job of bringing this innovation. They have very impressive TVLs, total value log, but they're still very niche and not very intuitive at the moment. MetaFi is where some traditional finance players like JP Morgan Chase and their Lounge, which I think they spent $200 million to build, they're still experimenting, but this is where I guess the future financial services, just like other businesses, would be fighting with each other for that turf. So what is the problem? The problem is we have this very exciting medium of the metaverse, which it's still very early days and it's poised to grow. A recent study by Goldman Sachs and Citi pegged the market to get to $13 trillion in just under 8 years and 5 billion users. But there's nobody who's providing a comprehensive financial services, a suite of financial services products for this environment. There's nobody who's really working on the education. There's nobody who's really working on bridging people who are not going to be in the metaverse, but would still like to partake in that economy. So while the market is going to grow explosively and a lot of people are going to gravitate to the metaverse, it's also forecasted that a lot of the traditional methods of working would not work anymore. You'll find businesses using a lot of avatars that are powered by AI bots and also human beings to provide that maybe the last mile or the personal experience that's needed, especially in industries like retail and other complex transactions. This is going to give rise to a lot of online communities. This is going to give rise to a lot of creators benefiting from this ecosystem. Some of the enablers of this new world are obviously the avatars. So there's companies that are building those, the devices, the marketplaces, and the virtual worlds, some of which have already become dominant players like Decentraland, Sandbox, etc. There's also going to be a bunch of these devices that are going to make that experience so immersive and so lifelike that going back to the two-dimensional mobile apps or web apps is going to be a huge step down. So as far as the solution for the financial services is concerned, Lucrisma thought of doing this in a where we do this as MetaFi, as a metaverse first company, but also catering to the customers who are going to be in the web app and mobile app. And we decided not to build a metaverse of our own. So unlike all my previous presenters who were giving these amazing experiences, we don't have any because we're not building any metaverse. What we're building is the infrastructure which will be used by Lucrisma to build all these financial products, which would work on any metaverse. So what we're building is a bidirectional bridge which will connect the metaverses, the different metaverses, and the outside world, and provide our suite of financial products and services. And we'll leverage the intuitive experience of the metaverse, as well as make sure that the web app and the mobile app don't look too different, right? It's not going to be at the same level, but we will make sure that the users who are used to the metaverse experience still get the intuitiveness when they use a mobile app. So our metaverse users would be able to leverage their metaverse assets to take out loans and deposit on both their metaverse assets as well as the real world assets, and vice versa. They'll be able to leverage their real world assets to take out loans and partake in other products inside of the metaverse. We are currently building. We have a roadmap where we would be launching our services in Q3 of this year. This would be inclusive of our token, which will be launched on a few exchanges, and there'll be some kind of an IEO as well. And then we're going to come up with a bunch of different products. Now, this is the important thing. So when we are done with the next couple of years of roadmap, you'll find that our suite of products has there is all the products that you guys are used to in the traditional finance world, right? The deposits, the loans, the mortgages, the ETFs, right? You'll find parallels. You'll find all those products, except that they'll be powered by digital assets. And the Lucrisma version would be, the metaverse version, as well as the mobile app, and you'll be able to get real good education on them, right? This is just one of the products. So to drive my point home, if you wanted to buy that parcel of land in Decentraland and you didn't have the full amount, let's say 100 ETH piece of worth of land, we could give you a loan on that piece of land. We'll give you some terms. Once you select those terms, we will lock that piece of land in a smart contract, which will still allow you to build a building on top of it, or whatever you want to build on top of that land. But there will be installments, and as you pay, and once you're fully paid, you then get the smart contract is unlocked, and you get full control over it. That is, in a sense, all I had time for. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and take some questions. So Rahul says, is it financial gateway from the metaverse to payment financial companies from traditional and crypto world? No, Rahul, this is, we are not building a new financial rails. We are leveraging some of those existing services. What we are truly building is a unified identity. So Rahul will exist in Decentraland. Rahul will also exist in Sandbox and Axie and in the real world. And we'll be able to stitch Rahul's identity and allow Rahul to take, use his Decentraland land to maybe take out, use that as collateral to take out loan, maybe for an NFT in Axie Infinity. Or if you have an expensive piece of art in your home, you could turn that into an NFT and take loan on that to buy something in Decentraland. So it's bridging the metaverse with other metaverses and the real world.
That's great, Neeraj. And what we can see here is that you're really blurring the lines, right? Because finance is kind of an abstract concept. And so, you can have money in the virtual world, you can have money in the real world, and you can have flows between, both worlds, right? You can use collateralized NFT in the virtual world to buy a real house, right?
Exactly.
Maybe what you made money from. So that was wonderful. Thank you so much. That was a really interesting vision that might be kind of mind-blowing for a lot of the people that are here on this Metaverse roadshow. But this is already happening, right? This is not new, and it has been happening for the last few years. And so, this is not really the future, it's the present, but it's going to become more widespread. So thank you again. Now we're going to move to Michelle Tsing. Michelle is, she is a crypto native and has been really immersed in the entire decentralized world for the last, quite a few years. So Defintasy, which is really at that beginning part, you have decentralized finance and fantasy, is really, as she's going to be talking about, building this super engaging metaverse. So Michelle, it's all yours. Give us your vision and where things are going. Michelle, I don't think we can hear you. Are you on mute?
Hello, I'm Michelle.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about the topic. I'm an artist myself since I was a child. Since been working with 3D, and I used to design 3D jewelry since 2012, 2013. I also create augmented reality, had like over 250 million impressions, up to 3 million users. The last I checked, which is about a year ago. And then I started building virtual reality and just virtual worlds, but placing NFTs and tokens with it. And I've never ever would dream that, art would intersect with tokens and in the world of decentralization. So I'm here to talk about how to build an engaging metaverse. We've been building metaverses since last year with NFTs, and I'm just going to bring us, just really do that progression. Just really a little bit about the market size. As you know, it is forecasted to be 678 billion. It's big, and you guys can see that for gaming, Axie basically out-earned the entire Binance Smart Chain in about a year. And entertainment and gaming are one of the big segment of metaverses. I think a lot of you know what is NFT, gaming and metaverses. NFT is tied to an asset, a unique asset. It includes everything like collectibles, wearables, fashion, real estate. Digital also becomes things. It's interaction in an immersive environment. It involves economy and it involves communities and DAO, which is really exciting. So in about February of 2021, we created a gallery, Harmony and Balance. just really wanted underrepresented minorities art to be in one place. And I was a little bit bored of OpenSea and the 2D marketplaces. So one of my ideas to create a 3D world, because I love, of course, 3D assets and playing with 3D. Some of the artists basically were commissioned as a result of this. And the Harmony and Balance press went all around the world. Korea Times, it was in the UK. People really love the idea of empowerment, of putting everyone together in one place where people can come and visit. And in the metaverse, as you know, it has spoken word. So there's opportunities for storytelling. And then I start doing global festival, really missed Coachella, of course, during hibernation, during COVID. So really wanted to create music festivals, right? So every Saturday we would have a concert in the metaverse. And July 4th was actually spent it in the metaverse in a football stadium, but this is just really nice. But there are some problems with the metaverse, right? So, when a lot of the users come in, they're like, what am I supposed to do? And this is way before Zuck basically announced the meta name change. So we were basically pulling people into the metaverse, training them how to walk and and run and fly. A lot of people were like, what am I supposed to do? How come my friends couldn't come in with me, right? There's only 100 people who come in, for instance. So for example, when Fortnite had their Marshmallow concert, they had to create 100,000 instances. A lot of the metaverse today is centralized. For example, when I had my NFT art exhibition, the server was down and I had no control of it. But luckily I created a whole decentralized metaverse for myself as an artist. And I was able to show my own personal decentralized metaverse instead. There's also a lack of inclusivity, right? So how many people could afford to buy land? How many women could afford to buy virtual land? How many African Americans could buy virtual land? How many Asian Americans could buy virtual land, right? Or, so those are some of the items that I think we should think about when we are creating this world, so that it doesn't really reflect the bad side of society today. And so then I came kind of because of all these questions that the users had, decided to actually create a metaverse gaming company, and that's how Defintasy is born. I wanted to make it interaction, I want to make it fun. I myself have spent 2 happy birthdays or 2 birthdays in the metaverse where all the avatars were singing with us. And like over 15 or 18 music festivals, had kind of spent a lot of time visiting virtual land with my friends, and creating these avatars that really represent, or an extension of us. So this is, I make this is Meta Woman. It's 3D, it has the capability of adding voice and AI in it. I think in the future, avatars or digital identity is going to be really important. And I like decentralized digital identity. It's still a hard problem to solve. And I'm actually on one of the advisor of a DID startup program. So I'm looking forward to more progress on that part of that. So the question is, how do we make metaverse fun, right? So I like to incorporate gaming. I like it to be gamified. as a founder, as a co-founder, and as a user and an enthusiast of metaverse and gaming, and and I love games. I want, and as an artist as well, I like to co-own the things that I make. I want people to be involved so that I can co-create. I want the shoe that I make to be interoperable onto other platform. And if I don't want to, I still want a little bit of being anonymous. I want to belong in different groups. I like to brag about my shoes, or the bag that I made, or the fact that I won something. I love that experiences of being somewhere, being in an immersive environment with my friends. And I think it's going to be a multiverse. I think we're going to have portals. I don't think that one company will control everything, just like a few other Web2 companies did, right?
Hi, Michelle. Is there a presentation mode for your slides?
Yeah, I kind
You'd like to do it like that? Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah, I just okay. And then I want to talk about finance, right? I think games and metaverses become financial. So if it's decentralized and if it involves tokens, then we could be creative in building something that we distribute or create, or allow people to earn wealth in different ways. So we can use the magic, like the money legals of DeFi, to help players earn money, and have some kind of timestamp so that their time is not wasted playing a game. After they finish playing a game, they can basically sell the assets or rent it out, or so. So I think that financial part of gaming and metaverse is going to be super, super important. I think a lot of you have spoken about the metaverse ecosystem, so I'm going to skip that.
Enjoy the metaverse. I've learned so much about NFTs, and the music's great.
Yes,
Meet people without travel.
Yeah, so this is just a testimony that we had when we did the DJ doing. This is our July 4th one, so people were having fun and they're learning about NFTs and tokens as a result of these events. Let me know if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, there's one question that I see. It's did you create the cookie avatar?
You mean the lady?
I'm not sure. It's KUKI. I'm not sure.
I did.
That's from Aditya.
Yeah.
This one you created.
Yeah, this one I created, and I sculpted it, and I wanted, freckles on an Asian American with light gray hair, but like different color eyes, and I made. Yeah, I did not create that one. I make avatars for fun. So if you go to I'm Big Goddesses on OpenSea. If you go to my OpenSea account, you'll see a number of meta women. And I actually created avatars for them for some of my personal NFTs. Some of my personal avatars for my personal metaverse virtual worlds. So you can kind of check it out. I'm also a collector, NFT collector. I just wanted to support the artist in the industry and the ecosystem.
And Michelle, do you see that the with Defintasy, are you focused on both the financial as well as the metaverse creation side, or what do you see the platform providing? Is it a range of things?
Correct. We are a little bit pivoting. We are going to include the financial side as well. And we are going to provide games, and different experiences. We partner with Woman at NFT. We created a virtual museum with them. We also partner with a celebrity called Damon Sharp. He's going to perform at EDC in May. And I think he also performed last year in October. If you look at Damon Sharp Music Club or Tokyo Hearts on OpenSea, you'll find these hearts that beat to his music. So we created those. We're gonna host a concert in the metaverse. We custom create every single environment. So as an artist, and working with our chief creative officer, that has been a lot of fun, just collaborating with him and talking about what we want, what our vision is, and he's and it's been like perfect. The metaverse that he created for the concert is really awesome.
And
I cannot.
Can you enter by phone and by PC? What's the how does anybody like get entry to your metaverse?
You can enter it on the web, on the Oculus, or on your phone. Yeah,
Okay.
we make some of the asset really light so that people can enter it on the phone.
All right.
For the most part, people have better user experience if you enter it on the web.
Yeah, sure. On the PC, right? Yeah, you got more power. It's hard to have the same experience because the processor's not the GPU and the processor is not quite the same. Well, Michelle, that was awesome. Thank you for sharing with us that very decentralized, very inclusive and diverse vision for what you see the metaverse can become and how you're spearheading, that drive. Unfortunately, we're out of time with your segment, but that I'm sure was really enlightening for a lot of people. Like with all things, we have one last presentation, and this one is with Aditya Mani, and he has you can see him saying that he's doing something called YOLOgram with branded apparel and unlock the stylist in use. So this clearly has something to do with fashion and something to do with potentially online shopping. It'd be great to get your vision, Aditya, and where you see the metaverse going.
Thank you for that. Thank you for having me, Alex, Jorden, and Laura. I mean, I really appreciate it. I know I'm a late entry into this cohort. I'm really honored to be amongst all the super creative entrepreneurs out here. And basically, we're going through a kind of a renaissance in terms of what our naming is. We used to be called Spatial Digital Social. We still are called Spatial Digital Social. We're incorporated in California, but a lot of us confuse Spatial Digital for Spatial, the app, which is a VR chat app. So, we're focusing more on YOLOgram, which is a play on the word hologram. And basically what we focus on is fun styling with branded apparel. So we focus on styling digital humans with branded apparel. And the idea is that we want to unlock the stylist in every single person out there. So, a lot of people play with styling apps. Usually it's, young teenagers who like to mix and match. And a lot of these games are outside of commerce. These are just fantasy clothing, which is out there. And we thought that it's important that we not just blend the world of e-commerce and gaming, but also introduce a couple of new paradigms to the whole world of e-commerce. Can you see my screen? Because I'm trying to, okay. So I think it's a bit slow.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah. So, if you look at are you able to see the screen that says problem?
Yes, problem 2D
Okay, yeah.
e-commerce today.
Yeah. So if you have a look at the problem with 2D e-commerce today, if you look at this photo shoot of this beautiful model in an action shoot, the way this photograph is captured is kind of static. It's impersonal, right? So it just stays this way, and that's all you can do with it. It's not really an immersive experience. It's not really a playable experience. And a lot of this gets solved with regular 3D. So, you bring 3D fashion into it, and the problem gets solved. You can see it. You can see texture in more detail. You can see it in your space. But that's not really what we think is the bigger problem we're trying to solve. If you look at most apps or most tech companies out there which are facing brands, they're focusing on the biggest problems that brands have. That's taking care of sales, loyalty, and new revenue. And the problem with the typical tools out there in digital marketing, and not the spatial digital world, is that if you try to move up in trying to get more sales, either by deep discounting or by paying per click, it's a zero-sum game, because you're kind of outbidding each other, and you're showing up on a search list, and you're not really adding any value. There's no connect that you're seeing. And in terms of loyalty and the ways people are trying to buy loyalty, consumers are really getting fed up. I mean, people are tired of receiving the same emails and text messages. That doesn't buy loyalty anymore. And even though people are, brands are out there in newer modes of trying to generate revenue by selling JPEGs, we don't believe that's the right way to approach, new revenue. So what we basically thought was, no one's putting the consumer in the center. And, we thought that if you look at, two of the new kind of consumers today, if I'm talking about millennials and Gen Z, they look at clothing in a very different way. They put themselves in the center of it. So, if you look at, for example, this is a video game-like environment where the consumer themselves is like a video game avatar, and they've put branded clothing on themselves. It really doesn't matter if they look like celebrities, but if you look at the kind of the stance that this person has, they're really coming across as an influencer within their circles, and that's what really matters to them. So, we wanted to make sure that we're mapping the consumer's view and the consumer's needs. And we really felt that the consumer today, the young consumer today, wants to engage experientially with the brand. They don't just want to, buy and that's it. They want to be a part of the brand. They want the brand to be a part of their story. So they want to create value-added content with this brand. And they want to be able to influence with branded content into their own worlds. So this is how we're really looking at, taking engagement to the next level, mapping it to sales, taking creativity, the option to create, giving the consumer the option to create content. And that becomes the tool that brings them to keep coming back, to keep creating content. And of course, there are new values in which NFTs can be brought in, and we don't think it's the JPEG way of doing it. So we really think that there's a consulting service of ours of a digital NFT that can come in here. So we think it's a good thing because we feel consumers who are engaged and empowered to create branded content really influence brand advocacy, and this is really what most brands want. Brands really want that. It's a flip. Earlier, it was all about content to commerce. Now, what we're trying to do is we're actually trying to change the paradigm by saying, hey, can your consumers create content? And that's content of the next level, because each one of them become brand influencers, they become brand advocates. So what is it that we're really doing? We're talking about offering these three pillars, which is style, share, and earn. And what we're trying to say is styling in terms of creating a fun and playable environment for the consumer, sharing with something what we call playful immersive content, and earning in terms of giving the consumer the opportunity to earn either with whatever it is that they mint or whatever it is that they co-create with the brand. So this is basically what we're trying to bring, and what we're trying to bring into the story is to talk about, excuse me, I'm going to get rid of this little Zoom thing. Talk about introducing the concept of fun styling. So can we actually bring styling in as a paradigm and make it what we call playable commerce? So I know Snapchat has tried this, and Snapchat has a very different view of doing this because they like to do body tracking where you track yourself and you're far away from the phone, but we don't think that's the right way to do fun styling. Sorry, there's a slight delay in my browser. So when we talk about playable commerce, what we're really talking about is creating a super fun experience. And when we're talking about fun experience, we're really talking about bringing the whole concept of game design into the app. So what we're building is not a skin or a layer above or a web AR that connects to a 3D object. We're really talking about a playable game out there, which is even gives the concept of enthusiasm even before the goal is reached. We're talking about creating an intuitive, engaging platform. And what we really mean is that each step that happens, the next step is very intuitive. There's no distraction. And it's a very responsive app that we're creating. So there's no friction, there's no waiting for the next step. And this is really what we're talking about. So, the girl has it's an app, it's an Android and an iOS app that we're going to be releasing. And brands which are going to participate on our app can either participate as a SaaS or they can participate in campaigns. And if we look at the Patagonia clothing right now, so there's a blue and gray jacket, which is styled to gray pants, and there's a green and brown jacket styled to gray pants. So what this really does is allows the girl to mix and match. So you can have different kinds of clothing. So it unlocks the stylist within the consumer. Of course, you can see all the 3D textures, felt, wool. You can see it in your space. You can see it in 3D, but that's not what we're focusing on. What we're really focusing is on the mix and match styling. Similarly, we're also talking about another tool that we're going to bring in, which is also going to be another, kind of a game changer or a paradigm shift into commerce. And we think this is called immersive social. And what we're really going to be empowering the consumer with is playful content. And what does this really mean? We're talking about, again, a lot of game economics and game design coming in. So we want to make sure that the game that we're building, this styling game, is kind of balancing between not being too tough, not too easy, because we've seen that if it's too easy, it gets boring. If it's too tough, it causes anxiety and people put things away. It has playful exploration in it. So there's going to be a lot of surprises, Easter eggs. Again, no distraction, but at the same time, a lot of new things which are going to keep coming up, which make the experience different every time you come in. And of course, it's going to be, tied into its own private social network. So there's going to be rewards and levels. So you're going to have points, you're going to have social bragging available. And of course, there's going to be unlocked experiences. So, if a brand really wants that someone's been trying on a lot of clothing, we should be able to unlock a certain wearable to them or unlock a certain kind of background to them. That's going to be available, to those users who interact more with it. So we're really bringing engagement and rewarding higher engagement. So this is really what we're doing. When we're talking about immersive social, we're actually not just talking about bringing the clothing into your room or bringing the 3D into you, but taking you into it as well. So we're really talking about direct to avatar. So, you create an avatar of yourself and you start styling yourself with it. So, on the left, we've got these 2 jackets by Patagonia, which typically show up on a 2D view. You see it in 3D and then you see it on yourself. So you see, the green jacket with green pants and you see the blue jacket with green pants. And, you can share this, and you can not just share this, you can share this in different kinds of, social contexts out there. So, we talk about sharing in 3D. So there are multiple 3D scenes that we have built into the app. So that it could be a store, it could be any kind of experience that you've built. Either it could be a user-generated 3D scene, or it could be a 3D scene that the brand is pushing. There could be 360-degree images, which could be 360-degree images, which is again an HDRI pipeline that we built in. And of course, you can style yourself in AR and record it as as a playful content, send it as a greeting, share it on 2D. Share it on TikTok, Instagram. So it's really not waiting for the metaverse to happen. It's right now. So, this is our protagonist. His name is Jack. And, what we've really tried to do is show some of the use cases that Jack can do playing around with content. So I'm just going to play a quick video here. Thank you for bearing with that.
Yes, that was great, Aditya.
Yeah.
So I think this kind of brings us to the end of the roadshow for today. So thank you for leaving us with that, Aditya. That's I think that was a really good place to leave us, because I think for everybody, one of the key takeaways that I'd like you to all just think about this soundbite, which is that, when we went from like the offline world to the web, and then we went from web to mobile, and now we're going from 2D to 3D, the rules change, right? The rules change every time. And so if you think you can take everything that you've already done and you can just bring it into the new medium, it proves that you can't do that, right? There's always a new set of winners. There's a new set of companies that become native to that new era, and they transform the way we interact with each other and with society. So that's going to happen again. And so, there's some of these companies that are feeling that they can take what they've already got and they can move into the metaverse and take them with us. Chances are they're probably wrong. There's going to be a whole new set of companies that are going to be native to this new world, and they're going to be bringing ideas that we've never really experienced before, and we're going to start doing things in a different way. So that's the last thought that I wanted to leave you with. And we are going to be having more roadshows. This was number 1. Number 2 is going to be coming up soon, so stay tuned for more excitement in the metaverse. And thanks to our co-hosts and all of our speakers, and thank you, for joining us on the journey today.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, frankly, the event was exciting. I can only thank you, Alex and Jorden, for putting together an incredible panel of innovators. We have learned a lot, and I think that's exactly what the TiiQu network should be. Bringing together innovation and make it available to everyone, because the point is that knowledge sharing is so key to push innovation and make it spreading faster and efficiently. So thank you very much to the innovators who participated to this first roadshow. I sincerely love the idea to have many others and possibly in the metaverse. And thanks again, Alex and Jorden. And see to you again the next metaverse or the next roadshow or the next TiiQu talks. Thank you very much to everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Not sure if there is any other question, or Alex, did you want to wait for any?
We do have a question from Irvin.
What is the Star Chain Ventures? That's the question for you, Jorden.
Yeah, I mean, there's a question for me. We're a venture studio, actually. And so we spin up, different companies and experiments. And we've been doing a lot with the metaverse, with NFTs recently. And so we're going to have some announcements coming up too. And we'll talk more about that in future episodes. But yeah, we're very involved in this ecosystem as well, and looking forward to sharing.
Well, I do have an announcement. Yes, we are starting a tribe, a Metaverse tribe. So please join. Just go to TiiQu.com tribes, and you will find the Metaverse tribe. And there we hope to put together very relevant stuff. And most importantly, gather you all innovators in a unique place. That would be fantastic. So, thank you, Venture Studio. Okay, spin up without like a lab.
Well, that was great, and we'll be in touch and look forward to future episodes. So thank you.
I guess that we can wrap it up. Alex, Jordan, are you okay?
Yeah, it's
Very good
for me.
So thank you very much again to everyone, and see you next Metaverse. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, bye, bye.